First of all, let me start by thanking all of you for signing up to this session with us. We're very excited about how much interest we've gotten from different partners. So thank you very much for that. The goal of the session today is to give you an overview of the whole product. And since we're trying to do that in 3 hours, of course, we can't go into detail with everything. But we'll try to give you the full tour of all the Gluu fundamentals, and to also give you some input on how you can use Gluu with your customers. I know some of you are already quite experienced with Gluu, and you will already know some of the things that I'm showing and telling you today. And some of you are more or less new to Gluu and to the platform. But we will be exploring the tool together today. And of course, if you have any questions along the way, please ask them. If you noticed in your email this morning, you received an invite to a new Gluu account called Gluu Partners, because I created a Gluu account for the purpose of this session. And the general idea is that I wanted to allow you guys to also play around with things on that account as we're talking about it today. I'll be showing you a bunch of different things, and you should also get hands-on as we're talking about them, doing it on the account as well. If you have not already signed in, we will do that before the session. Some of you will have received an email where you can set a password to log in, and some of you will be able to log in with your Microsoft login. If that's what you're using for your own Gluu account, you will also just see the Gluu partner account as an option when you sign in. But we will get to that later. Because of the time constraints and the goal of doing more or less a full tour of Gluu, all the basics at least, we won't be able to go into detail about every single feature. But this is the first big partner session that we're doing, and we would be happy to do more on specific topics as well. So if you, after this session, feel like there's something that you would like to explore more in another session, please let us know, and we'd be happy to arrange that at a later point in time. The slideshow I'm showing you today, I will share that with you afterwards. And it will have there'll be a lot of reference material there. So links to Help Center articles on specific features, to YouTube videos on how to set up certain things to make it easy for you. It's like a little library of what we're talking about today. And in particular for the advanced features, because those I will just briefly show you, we don't have time today to explore them in much detail. So just so you know, you don't have to take notes on everything. Right. There's a lot of people here, 15 or so, besides myself and my colleague Anders, who also works with Gluu. And I would very much like for you guys just to briefly introduce yourselves. Just let us know who you are, what company you work for, and how you use Gluu, if you wouldn't mind. That would be great, because then all of you also get an idea of what type of partners work with Gluu. If you don't mind turning on your cameras, if you can, just for the introduction, so everyone gets to see your faces. That would be great. Thank you. Now, Etienne, if you don't mind, since you're one of our more experienced partners, would you start by introducing yourself?
Yes, hi, morning. Yes, I'm probably the oldest as well. Anyway, yes, I'm Etienne. I work for a company, which my own company called Process to Product, which I think is very appropriate. Processes realize products and services. And I've been on the Gluu journey now for a bit longer than a year with Louise and team, and must say enjoying it thoroughly and getting excellent feedback from the customers where we've been using it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Etienne. And maybe the guys from Uniforce, you could go next. I see Gitte and Henrik here at least. I don't see all the participants on my screen. If you could just introduce your company, we don't have to do individual introductions for all of you, then we'll be here quite some time, I think, doing introductions. But if one of you would just introduce your guys' team, that would be great.
I could do that. We are a new company started a year ago called Uniforce in Denmark. And we have joined as partners. I have experience in Gluu from another job. I have never been a partner, just like used Gluu, and thought that this could be great for our customers to work with their processes. That's the short story. And I have brought in my colleague, Katrine, Søren, Henrik, to join today. And they are absolute newcomers here. So they're looking forward just to get to know Gluu, basically. And we have like Søren is our salesperson, so it's important that he get the understanding of Gluu to sell the product. And Katrin, Henrik, and I are going to do processes for a start in our own new company, just to get the experience. So like taking our own medicine for a start. I think that's it. And if any of my colleagues think there's anything else, please say so. We are looking very much forward to this.
Thank you, Gitte. And then we have our Spanish partners from the company Iterem here as well. I'm probably not pronouncing your name correctly. I'm sorry. If one of you guys just want to briefly introduce your company.
One moment, please. Hi, good morning. My name is Matthias. We are in this meeting with my colleagues Teodora and Esther. We are from Iterem in Barcelona, in Spain. And we are a BPM specialized agency, and we are providing solutions about process architecture, process orchestration, process automation, and process mining for our clients. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthias. And then we have some people from DLK Group as well. If you could introduce yourselves too, that would be great. Okay. We don't have. Yeah, now we hear you. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Kashif Semodin. I work for DLK Group. They're based in Cape Town in South Africa. We've recently started actively working with Etienne to try and implement Gluu, firstly within the organization. Quite a few processes that we are going to be tackling. That will also give us a firm understanding of the tool and the solution and how we can implement that and how we can take that to our clients and to the market as well.
Thank you very much. Then we also have Georgia here representing Silver Consultancy. Yeah, I saw you somewhere, hi. Georgia. Yeah, hi.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Georgia. I'm based in Cyprus actually. I work in a company SC Silver Consultancy. We basically offer SAP services, mainly in Germany. And we were just looking for a way to, organize our processes somehow. Maybe, yeah, Gluu looked very, very interesting, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Georgia. And then we have Robin from Sixpack here also.
Yes, good morning. It's live, also from Sixpack.
Hello,
Robin
guys.
and myself, we're also rookies for Gluu, started to become curious about your product like a few months ago. Met Zoran at a partner conference. And from the background, we are mainly a consulting company for the digital transformation. So bringing customers with all their applications and processes into the cloud, and mainly using Microsoft 365, Dynamics, and so the Microsoft Cloud Stack as a background. And what made us curious is that we really need to have a good and thoroughly ability to process the business models, document them, follow up, align with the customer, that they can do the models themselves, and then easing up our projects afterwards, that we have a better understanding of how they work before we implement something which may not fit. And that's a lack we had over the last years, quite significantly, that the customer is not really able to express what he needs. So process is more and more becoming our starting point for customer journeys.
I think a lot of our ERP implementing partners would say that it's definitely true life. They agree with you that the customers, they don't know what they need, they only know what they want. And those are very different things. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then we also have Jörn here from Pexi. I can't remember the name of your company, Jörn. We haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet.
No. My name is Jørgen Petersen. I'm a independent consultant. I have my own process excellence company. I'm supporting companies with business process mapping. And I've been around Gluu for many years, not using it yet. I typically use Aris or iGraphics in bigger companies to map out their entire organization. But I find Gluu very interesting, and I've been joining your development for the last, I think, 5 or 10 years or something. And when Søren started with a very low-key solution, and now I think Gluu is actually developing in the right direction with a lot of good features. So I'm looking forward to see how it looks like today. And I see that some of the companies that I work in right now, they are reaching out for two big solutions, and Gluu will be the perfect fit going forward. So yeah, thanks.
Sounds good, Jan. Happy to have you here. And then finally, we have Jens also on the list today.
Yes. Hi, everybody.
Yes.
My name is Jens, and I've been working with Gluu now for, 1.5, 2 years. And I'm an independent project manager, and I'm one of those ERP project managers that actually believe process makes a difference. So for that reason, I use Gluu wherever I can in my business implementation. And the reason why I use Gluu and not all other tools is user friendliness. That's cut to the bone from my point of view. And I'm happy to see there's more traction now, because it's always an uphill battle to get people to spend time and money on processes, but I think time is changing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jens. I think that was everyone. If someone feel like I missed them on their list, please raise your voice now.
Or be silent forever.
Yes. Very true, Jens. And just like Jens is doing, you're all welcome to give your comments as we go through this session. Of course, you can also be polite and raise your hand, but to do a brief introduction of myself, I'm not very easy to insult, so please just jump in if you have any questions or anything you want to add. For those of you who do not know me, I used to work for a Gluu customer as a quality manager, and I was responsible for implementing and operating Gluu. So I have a fair bit of experience on the other side of the table, getting processes to work in the real world. And while working with Gluu, I've had the pleasure of working with some of you guys also on specific projects. So I now also have a fair amount of implementation experience. And as you can see, I like coffee very much. So if any of you feel the need to go get a cup of coffee during the session, just feel free to do that and come back. Right, so let's get started with the real content of the session. Because we also have people here today that are fairly new to Gluu, I will just give you a very brief introduction to the Gluu concept. Our very simple mission statement is to make it easier to work the right way than the wrong way. Because we strongly believe that if processes are not used or followed in the real world, then they don't create much value. And that's why it's our vision to help our customers to turn the right way into the easiest way as well. And that's very much about user friendliness. If the process is a guide that makes the job easier for people working in the process, then human nature simply helps us along the way. And that's probably also where Gluu differs the most from other business process management products out there, because we are very focused on the end user. We want our platform to be not only for process experts, but for regular employees. Everybody in a company should be able both to create and improve processes and work in them in a simple way. So that's our mission in a nutshell. Our customers more or less fall into these two categories when it comes to what they use Gluu for. You see some of our customers mentioned on here just for illustration, but we have customers in very many different businesses, in many different industries. Everything from manufacturing to contractors to big energy companies and public offices, like, for instance, the Greenlandic government. Greenland is the talk of town at the moment in the news all over the world, but they are also a Gluu customer, and we're very happy to have them. As it turns out, our customers are also quite happy with us. We are also represented with Gartner. So you can also find us in their matrices and reports. The way that we've structured the product is we've basically put 3 products into one integrated platform. So the first part of the platform is what we call Understand. That's the part of Gluu where you document your process flows, you add your work instructions to your activities, and you communicate it with your colleagues. And then there's the second part of Gluu, which is Also, one of the areas where we are different from most other BPM platforms, because we've added the option to execute or orchestrate your process flows straight in Gluu. You do not have to have another system for that. You can set that up, and for us it makes really good sense, because when you have your processes and your work instructions, why wouldn't you also have your tasks right with the instruction? So that is also an option with us. And then the final step is what we call improve, and that's a fairly high level of process maturity. But we do offer quite a few features as well when it comes to working with the data that you're generating based on your process flows and your process orchestration. And as you can see, there are a bunch of little icons on here because Gluu also integrates with a bunch of stuff. We'll get into that a little bit more later on today. But now I want to show you a couple of customer cases. I always do that at the beginning of sessions like this, just to, get your minds going, so that when we look at the system, you have already in the back of your minds an idea of how you might want to use Gluu with some of your customers, because when you look at real life examples, that's always easier to relate to. The first one, if I can just get it to go to the next slide. I have been having some issues with the new Teams update. I don't know if some of you did too, but everything is running a little bit slow in meetings. So I apologize for any wait time we might have today. The first case is Norlys, which is a big energy sector customer of ours in Denmark, and they are, for now at least, strictly using Gluu without the task management part. So for them, Gluu is a tool they've used to get their processes into their organization with decentralized process owners to help them with all the mergers that they're doing. They have a fairly aggressive strategy when it comes to merging with other companies. And they have used Gluu for that because the tool they used before didn't get engagement from the business. And then we have, I skipped one. The next one, which is the public sector represented by the Greenlandic government I mentioned before. They are, on the other hand, very focused on task and case management as well as the processes. And they've actually been using Gluu both as a library for all of the laws and regulations that their caseworkers need to be aware of and have easy access to. But they're also using it to do the top layer of their case management when they have citizens approaching them. They of course have an integration to a I actually don't know what that's called in English, but in the public sector, there's usually very strict demands on how you document everything and how you store that documentation so that no one can get to it unauthorized. They have a separate system for that, but they also keep some sensitive information in Gluu. just for your guys' information, that's also an option. Then we have the Sport24 case, and as you guys can see, represented by Jens, who's also here today, because this was your project, Jens. Let me know if you feel like I'm misrepresenting the story as I'm telling it. But Sport24 is a very good ERP implementation case for us, because they had some issues getting their ERP project to go live. They worked on it for a very long time without getting there, and they figured out, because Jens told them, that they really needed processes to reach their goal. I had the fortune to be part of mapping their processes with them. And just like what we quoted Jens for here, I have to say that I absolutely agree. It was very impressive to see what they did with processes in just 2.5 months. So a very good tool for that as well. Okay, the final use case I brought for you guys today is one of our contracting customers. We have a couple of those. They take their main process, their core process, which is of course doing construction projects with customers, map it out in Gluu, and then they focus heavily on the task management part of Gluu. Because this business, at least in Denmark, probably also elsewhere, is not very digitalized. So they gain so much from taking this step of having their process standardized, and then having an overview of the different steps in their building projects, no matter if it's just a 1-week job at a private person's house, or if it's a big building project that lasts 2 or 3 years. Because usually they have a lot of like paper heavy documentation, and just by moving it into Gluu and Gluu case management, they get a neat folder structure with all their documentation for their projects in one place. So if they have any issues or any conflicts with their customers on the big projects about what was promised and then what was actually delivered, it's fairly easy for them now to show what was the agreement. And that was a struggle for them before, definitely. Those were the customer cases for inspiration, and I've also included this little slide that you can take a look at afterwards, just to get some ideas on how Gluu could be used in your businesses. Do any of you have any questions or comments about the customer cases? You're very welcome to share them.
Louise, can I ask a question, or do you want us to write it down? Right.
No, you can ask a question. That's absolutely fine.
I think this is probably a question related to our environment. I'm not sure. I just had a big session yesterday with another retailer, and they always ask the same question. How can they combine a very elementary system view related to processes? With other words, how does ERP systems and things relate? And maybe if the team is interested, I then did a mock-up of this. It's not what it's intended for, but it looks pretty cool. And the client was actually quite happy to use it that way. So that was just a thought. I just wanted to know if that's something, other guys want in their areas as well. So process system view combination. I'll share a drawing in the chat.
Yeah, please do. That would be great. Then everyone can take a look at it. Any other questions or comments about use cases? No, doesn't look like it. Then we will move on to the more hands-on part of Gluu. We're gonna go to the platform now in the Gluu partner account. But just before we do, I wanna share just a few things with you on our, before I show you. So when the first thing we're gonna do is related to creating processes, and to create processes, we have to look at our process hierarchy and also our process landscape in general. When we implement new customers in Gluu, we and they ask us to help them with implementation. They always expect the first session to be a product tour, but actually our first implementation session is what we call our core team training, and we do not look at the platform at all. We don't go there, but what we do spend time on is talking to them about all the fundamental stuff related to process work. We also invite their management team, their C-level guys, to join the session if they want to, because it's just very important to get that alignment and to for us to do our best to help them, having considered everything that's necessary to succeed in their process journey. So the session is very focused on what is a process even, and what's a good process, and what's a good process for them in their specific setting. And also we share our experience with them on the different, I'm lacking a word, let me just think. On all the different areas you should be mindful of, where mistakes can easily be made. And that's how we spend our first 3 hours with them. And they usually get a lot of aha moments out of that. And one of the things I always tell them is that when they think of their process landscape, it should fulfill two main purposes. So one is an operational purpose. And here it's very important to turn processes into tools that help the employees solve their everyday tasks. But then there's also a strategic level, because you want to anchor knowledge in the organization rather than people, and you can use processes for that. And from a strategic perspective, you can also use your process landscape to provide an overview of how different processes are connected and affect each other. And then finally, processes are also a very good starting point for spotting optimization and automation potential, because we very much agree with Edward Stemming. You might be familiar with him. He's a big guy in process theory. That if you don't know, if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, then you don't really know what you're doing. And how would you know how to optimize or automate? So that's our goal when we're doing our process hierarchy and our process maps. In Gluu process, the process hierarchy, the process structure is based on the APQC framework. It's an international framework for organizing processes, and they work with 5 levels: category, group, process, activity, and task. On On the far right on this slide, you see examples of what that would correspond to when we look at the process hierarchy. If we translate it into Gluu language, the Gluu structure, then we also have categories, and inside categories we have groups, and inside groups we have processes. So those were the first 3 APQC levels, and then we have levels 4 and 5 inside the processes in activities and tasks. As the final slide before we move to the platform, I just want to show you this as well, because the Gluu standard notation is built on BPMN 2.0. But even though it's built on it, our standard notation is much simpler, because in our experience, only process experts understand all the different shapes and objects in the BPMN 2.0, because there are so many. It creates more confusion for business users than it helps clarify process steps. So we recommend sticking to the standard Gluu notation. But if you really do want to use something from the BPMN, we do offer that option. We just recommend that you only do it for high-level strategic end-to-end processes, and keep all your operational processes for regular users in the Gluu standard notation. That's usually the best compromise that we see with customers that would like to do a bit of both. But I would say somewhere between 80 and 85% of our customers only use the Gluu standard notation. They don't use any BPMN. Great. Okay, so let me just move to the Gluu platform now. Just a sec. Like I said, we're just waiting for my slow teams today. Are you guys able to see my screen now? Yes, great. So right now we're on the Gluu Partners account. You can also log into this account, and you're welcome to do so if you're not already here. That way you can also follow on your own screens what I'm doing, and you can, you're also very welcome to play around with the stuff that we talk about during the session, because to illustrate this first part of creating the process hierarchy, I will just create, by turning on edit mode here, a new category, like a partner sandbox area where you guys can create processes if you want to. Let's call it the partner area. So we have one existing category called starting with Gluu, and now we have the partner area as well. I just need to move this little Teams toolbar so I can click new group, because we need a group. That's where we put our processes. Let me call it sandbox, if I can spell it. Apparently that's very difficult to get that B in there. That's really all you have to do to work on your process hierarchy in Gluu. You can create as many categories and as many groups inside every category as you want to. And you decide the names of them, you decide the order of them. That's completely up to you. The only thing we provide is the structure of category is the top layer, groups inside categories, and the groups hold processes. So now that we have our categories, we want to create a new process. And in Gluu, you will always find this big blue button in the top left corner on almost every page that you're on. In particular, if you have editing rights in Gluu, either some of our global admin rights, or if you're a process owner or editor. Here you would need to have the right to create new processes in the process hierarchy. That is not a right that we recommend that you let everyone have, but all you guys have it on this account. So you would be able to create new processes also. But when you click new process, oh, and by the way, this blue button is a clever button because now we're on the process hierarchy page. The top layer is new process, but if we go to a different page, then it will change. So if we, for instance, go to cases, you see now the button says new case instead of new process. If you click the drop down, you can always find the other available options. But we do try to make it as easy for you as we can. So when you click new process, and once again, the Teams toolbar is kind of in the way, you have to select which category you want to place it in. So I see my two categories here, starting with Gluu and partner area. I'm going to choose starting with Gluu. Then I have to choose which group. And there's only one group here, so it only shows me one. If I had multiple groups, it would show me multiple. Then I have to give the process a name. We recommend that you name your processes using an active language. That sometimes can seem a little bit odd to people when I say that to them for the first time. But there's a science behind it in the sense that when you use an active language, it inspires users to actually take action and responsibility. It motivates them to do something. And that's really what we want to do with our processes, and in particular, our activities. So for the purpose of this session, we're going to be doing a bike process, a simple one. We also need to put an outcome in here as well. And we encourage you to use this outcome box, because if you do not tell your colleagues or your customers the goal or the purpose, both of your processes and of your activities, then we're much less motivated as human beings to actually do what the process is telling us. So we will also put something in here. Oh, and now I almost skipped a step. Sorry about that, guys. We have to add a couple of roles to the platform as well, because we need them for our process. And because we're doing a bike process, we're just going to click new role, and then we're going to need a customer service agent. As you can see here, if you want to, you can add people to the role here, and you can also add a job description, objectives, all that HR related stuff, as well as one of our newer features in Gluu called competencies. But for now, I will just create the role. And I'm also gonna need a mechanic. So I'm gonna put that in and create that role. And then we are going to need a painter as well. So I will add that. Here we go. And the way that Gluu handles access to processes is through roles. So we will assign the roles that we just created to all of our users. And let me just show you this really nice bulk edit feature. You can actually update all your users in one go. You don't have to do them one by one by using this bulk feature. So we're just going to say update. It already knows that it's name and email here, but we have to tell it what we want to do, which is add roles. And then we get the list of roles. We want to add mechanic, painter, and customer service agent. And I want to do that for all users here. So I just click copy to all, and then I click update. That makes it a lot easier than having to do it for every single person. So now you guys all have these 3 roles that we're going to be using for our process. Oh, and someone already created more people already created categories. Great. And then let's just choose where we want to place. Oh, that was too far. Let me just grab the process name again. And the process outcome. It can take a little bit of practice to do process outcomes in a good way, but let me just show you this example. So here I'm just trying to say, when we look at the whole process with all the different steps, all the activities in there, what is it that we're trying to achieve? Well, basically that we got an order, we got the parts, they were painted and assembled, and the bike was ready to ship. When you create a process, you automatically become the process owner. You can choose someone else in this step, and you can also add process editors if you want other people to be able to edit the process diagram. So now we can create our process, and then our little wizard starts, because we want to help you map your process as much as we can. And the first step is that we ask you, is there another process starting this process? So for instance, if we look at the HR, say we were mapping our onboarding process, then we would have a recruitment process before the onboarding process, because there's no onboarding without recruitment. So we would find that on our list of processes here. And and then that would be our start event. It would be linked to our start event. But as of right now, we don't have many processes here, so we won't link anything for now. Did I see a hand raising a question somewhere? Then please ask it.
Hi.
Hi, Georgia.
Could you please explain that again, the last part?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easier to show you, actually, if you don't mind. We'll just do the next couple of steps, and then I'll show you how that works with the start event and
that's
linked
fine.
processes. Yeah, great.
Okay.
Because now our Gluu assistant popped up because we have to decide which roles are involved in our process. And it only looks at roles that are already in your account. And in this case, you can ask it to try again to suggest others. But in this case, we're just going to tell it, I don't want these two, but the customer service agent, the mechanic, and the painter, please add those. And the way the AI works is just that it looks at the name that you gave your process and the outcome. That's how it suggests roles for you. So now we've added those, and we're happy with it and happy with the order. So we just click next. And then the Gluu assistant also suggests activities. As you can see, we can add our own activities too if we want. But the AI usually does a pretty good job of suggesting process steps. So here it says, well, you need to confirm the order details as a first step. Then you need to check your inventory for parts. You have to prepare them for painting. You have to actually paint the parts. You have to assemble the frame. You have to inspect final assembly, adjust components, and package bike for shipping. I quite like all of these activities, maybe except this one, adjust components. That's not necessary because we already assembled and inspected the final assemble. So I'll deselect that one, but ask it to add the others. And you can also always see which role the activities will be added to. So now I see them all here and I can rearrange them, I can edit them, I can change the role of them, the name, whatever I want to change. I can also manually add other activities if I want to. And then the final step is to, like choosing the process that started this process, is to choose the process this process leads to. The outcome of this process, if that leads to the input of another process, then you can add it here. But for now, we will just leave it. And as soon as I click done, the AI maps out all the activities that I decided to include in my process. I might as well be honest and say that I really, really like our AI for this. It works really well, especially when you're mapping a process for a customer where you're like, I wonder, in this line of business, what would you put here? Because you can tell the AI the size of your business and what industry you're in, and then it will target its suggestions towards that. So that's pretty neat. I will say, however, if you do not want the AI to make any suggestions, you just close it and you can map your process by dragging and dropping activities from the menu like this and just connecting them in the way that you want it with the arrows. And then you have your little settings box here. You can drag and drop that as well. So when you click the activity box here, you could also give it a name. Ship bike, for instance, could be the final step here. And you can add your own outcome. And you also have an option for different activity types. If you choose an activity type here, as you can see, the little icon changes in the top left corner from the default one. And we offer these 6, but you can ask for us to change the names of them for a customer account if you want to. The great thing about activity types is that you can filter based on activity types all across the platform. So, for instance, identifying risks, which is one of the activity types, activities with risks becomes pretty easy, and they also become visually highlighted for the users because they also have a different color. Right now, all our elements are gray because there's no information in here. But if I add something, whatever, in here, then it will change color to once we save it to its whatever color we want it to be, depending on the activity type. So you see when I closed it, now it goes red because there's information in there. I think I saw another question pop up, so please feel free to ask it.
Hi, Louise. If we're building out the process, could we have a decision point as well? I would like to see how that plays out in the cases when we get to that, because we've got a few in our processes.
Mm-hmm.
And when we and kind of jumping the gun here, when we get to the cases, I want to be able to, if I take a certain path, not have to do other tasks.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can, of course, add decision gates to your process. I will say that for now, until we do our next case revision, which is planned for spring, case templates cannot accommodate decision gates inside the templates. There are other ways to go about that, but we'll get to that later. But you can definitely add decision gates, and you can also add text to the lines if one option is no and the other option is yes, maybe. Then you can add that. We also usually recommend that when you have multiple options, you choose dotted lines for those arrows, just to make it easier for regular users to spot that this is not the mandatory flow, it's optional, and you have to make a choice. If we want to get back to the events, we recommend that for all events, for all processes, that you do a start event and an end event. So if we add an end event here, let me just delete this because we don't want it in our way. Sorry, my mouse is really giving me a hard time here because it's lagging because of the release. Okay, so let's say this is our end event. Because once the bike is shipped, we're done. And maybe we just want to add it up here. We don't want to add it in a separate swim lane because it's not something someone else has to do. We color them green, the end events, and you can choose end here, and then it's marked by this little line. If you want to, you can also add text. You can write end, you can write bike shipped, or whatever makes sense. And then, Georgia, we get to the question about the events and linking, because you have an option to link processes to your end events and start events. This can be very helpful. So now I'll just do the introduce you to Gluu just to show you what it looks like. Let's say now I'm happy with this process and I turn off edit mode. Then the process I've linked, if I click the end event, it shows me the linked process. And I can also navigate to it if I want to see more. If I click process info for this process, it will also show me that the next process, the one that this process output is the input to, is introduce you to Gluu. And the same thing goes for the start events. You can also add links there. It's not the only place you can add links. You can also link a sub-process inside this process. So let's say we had an extra step here that I wanted to add. I don't want to map it out, all of those steps inside this process, so I just want to link a sub-process. I can choose from any process in my account, but also from all my activities in each process. And it's of course searchable so that you can find it. And then we have this white box to signify for your users that here is a link, and if they click it, they will also see the process in the side pane, in the little drawer. That can also be very helpful. And you can, of course, connect it to your flow if you want to, like with all the other objects. If you figure out as you're mapping that you need more things than what you added in the wizard, you can always drag and drop a swim lane. You can add a role to it and add activities here as well. So that's the basics of what you can do with when you're creating a process. And just to be mindful of time, the only other thing I will show you now is just how to create a work instruction. You can either do what I just did now, click the gray box, click the little eye, then you get this drawer in the side pane where you can add information to the why and how section. We have a why and how section because in our experience, it's very important that you explain the purpose. Why are we doing this before you explain how to do it? And you can ask the Gluu assistant to help you if you want to. If you're happy with it, you just add it. The same thing goes for the how. And once again, it's based on the name of the activity and the outcome of the activity. So we'll add that. And once you've added it, then you can, of course, use all the different Gluu formatting options. For instance, maybe we don't want this in here, so we remove that. And we want to turn this into a headline. So we choose the headline. You can have multiple headlines, and the great thing about that is that you get a table of contents for your users based on those headlines. We create that automatically. And you can, of course, also add images, video, files, links, all the stuff you're used to being able to do in most text writing tools. Very good. Those are just the basics of work instructions. We won't spend much time on them today. That's a whole session on its own. But now we've added the information and it turns blue. And if we click in the sidebar navigation on the left, we also see the same text. And we can also navigate like this to the other activities if we like working on a full screen kind of page when we're adding work instructions. Very good. But for now, we will just leave it as is. So that was the very basic introduction to creating your first process, the process landscape, how to use AI. The next thing we'll look at will be cases, case templates and tasks. But before we do that, I just want to give you guys a 5-minute break so you can go get a cup of coffee or whatever else you need to do. So let's meet back here in 5 minutes. So 10:45 if you're in Denmark. And depending on your time zone, just add 5 minutes. Yeah, good. See you guys in 5 minutes. Okay. So, a good 5-minute break, everyone. I filled up my coffee cup, so I'm happy. It looks like at least some of you are back. Yeah. Good. Good, good. I see most of you are back now. So we will move on to the next segment. I do, however, just want to briefly mention one thing because it is one of my favorite features in the process mapping tool. So I want to make sure that you guys also know about it. Let me just share my screen again with you. Okay. And hopefully you see my screen now. If not, let me know. When you're in edit mode, good, on a process, then you have this little t-shirt on the far left of your menu, options menu. And this is my favorite tool because it allows you to do a bunch of different things. For instance, for this process, I have run out of space for my swim lanes. So if I make one swim lane longer, instead of having to do the other ones manually as well, I can just go to the t-shirt because it allows me to do a bunch of different things. But the most simple one would be aligning the swim lanes. And I get that by just clicking apply. And instantly they're all elongated to the same size. But what I can also do, which is very helpful, for instance, with the Gluu end user that we added here at the bottom, instead of trying to manually insert it in between other swim lanes, if I do it here, then we automatically move everything around. So you see how activities and the painter swim lane and the arrows just shifted to the position that we requested. It's just such a helpful tool, especially if you're mapping out a big process and then all of a sudden someone says, oh, but we forgot this role. It has to go in the middle and you have 5 roles already and 15 activities. This is just a very easy way to do it. But play around with that feature. It does a bunch of different stuff. And there is, of course, also a Help Center article that you can take a look at for that. But what we want to move into now is talking about the Gluu case management. In Gluu, we basically have 2 types of tasks. We have scheduled recurring tasks, which are standalone tasks that happen at a certain frequency. For instance, every Monday morning in the finance department, they have to go unlock the safe so everyone can use it during the week at 8 o'clock. And every Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock, they have to remember to lock it again. And we need to document that they did it. Those would be recurring tasks. We just create one, and then it repeats itself every Monday morning and every Friday afternoon. That's the simplest form of task management in Gluu. We have one of our customers using it a lot in their production area because they have to do maintenance and a security check every day, and they need to document it for audit purposes. So the machine operator simply just checks the task in the Gluu app. That's it. They're done. And they run like 25,000 scheduled tasks like that every year. But the more advanced form of task management in Gluu we call cases. Cases let you look at your whole process and use every single task in every single activity in here to create a chain or a string of tasks that are linked together. If you noticed when we were in edit mode, now let's do this one because we have some information in here. There is also a task manager here because in Gluu, tasks are created and belong to activities where the work instructions are. Right now, we want to do a full case template. So I won't create a task now. I just wanted to show you because it helps your understanding. So in our sidebar navigation here on the left, we see cases at the bottom. We have open cases, closed cases, but we also have a case templates view. If we click case templates, we don't see any templates here now because we haven't created any. But we like working based on templates because we don't want our users to have to build the case every time they need to activate it. Cases in Gluu are very good for processes where you have changing responsibilities between different functions or different departments, like, for instance, the onboarding process I mentioned before. But cases are also good for creating an overview for your entire organization to show, so how far are we with carrying out this process? To mention a few examples of where cases are used in real life with customers, besides the onboarding process, that's always a favorite. We also see customers using cases for finance-related things like different reporting, like quarterly reports. There are quite a few steps you have to go through there. Different people are involved. We see people using it for claims handling, for return goods handling, but also for simpler things like incoming goods control, where there's only a few steps in the case. And then, of course, the contracting customers that I mentioned previously, when they do building projects that last 2 years or 3 years, they have very long, complex case flows. So there's so many things you can use it for. And some customers also like using it just to measure throughput time. But for now, let's try creating a case template. So once again, the blue button is our friend. So we click New Case Template. And because this is the first time we're creating a template, the system will ask if we want help to do it. And it's asking if we want to just create a task automatically for all of the selected activities. And that would be very nice. So in this case, we just check all the boxes because we want to include all the activities. As you can see here, the activity names is what we have on the list. And then we click OK, because then we get a lot of help from the system, because we have all the initial tasks created for us. So I just want to give this template a name. So maybe I call it bike assembling. And maybe I also call it, oh, if I can spell that. And then I can close this because the next step I have is that I can make changes now to the order of the activities and to the tasks. I can add more tasks if I want to. For instance, we might want the customer service agent to not only confirm the order details, but we actually want that person to check order details before confirming to the customer. So we can create new tasks also here straight in the template. If we want to, we can add a form. We don't have any forms in this account yet because it's new, but I'll show you in a minute what it looks like in our demo account. I create the task. And then I have some different options of whether I want to make it a critical task and some other settings here. We won't go into detail about them because, like I said, for today's session, that would be too much. I would, however, be happy to do a separate session solely focused on case management with you guys if anyone would be interested in that. And you can also assign it straight to a specific user. The list of users we see here is the list of all the users that are process members, meaning they have a role in our process, because you guys are all mechanics, painters, and customer service agents. So if I know every time I run this particular template, Jens is always the person checking the order details, well, then I'll assign it to Jens in the template because we don't want to bother anyone else with this task on their overview. But if it's just for everyone with the role, then we won't add anyone because then you can all do it. I will, however, recommend that you use the case team feature for adjusting those types of settings in your templates, because here you get the full overview of all activities and tasks, including all the roles. So it's a much easier way to work with that part. This case is set up with critical tasks all throughout, because we want to make sure that actually we want to check the order details before we confirm them. So we move that task up, and we want to make sure that no task can be completed before the previous task is done. So that is how we set up our process. And now I'm just going to save it. And now we can use it to create a new case, either by doing it here or by going to Open Cases and clicking New Case. When we are here on this specific process, you will only see templates related to this process. If you click New Case anywhere else in the system, it will show you all available templates from all processes that you have access to with your user. But right now, we only see one because we're on this process and we only created one template. So when I click it, it just shows me these are the steps, just to give me a chance to confirm that this is what I want to do. And then I select it. And now I can give my case a name. So I will call it Pink Bike for Customer. You can, of course, maybe you have an order number in this instance that you would want to add. That would be a likely scenario. So maybe our order number is this. So we add that as well. It gives me the option to just start the case or to do some amendments before I start it. If I want to, for instance, if I know I'm the mechanic in charge of this particular pink bike, then I might just assign myself in order not to send notifications out to everybody else. But for now, we'll just start the case. We don't want to change anything. And now we have the case based on the template we just made, and the first task is active. That's why it's orange. And that means that this task can be completed. Here we can always see the name of the task. We can see which case it belongs to. We can see our work instruction if we need to consult it. And we can also attach images and files. If we unfold it, we see a little more detail about the case. It looks a little bit like the template now. We have the names of the activities and so on and so forth. And all these gray ones are just tasks that cannot be completed yet, but will become active as we are completing the previous tasks. Right. I want to show you in our demo account what a case with forms and a bunch of other settings look like, just to give you an idea. And also show you our SharePoint integration. Oh, give me a second. Just, my Teams is stuck now. And it dropped the sharing. Give me a sec. I will just reshare because so as I am just doing that, any questions related to case management so far? Just the basics?
Yeah, Louise, maybe if you can just maybe mention a little bit on how to use the Gluu, what do you call it, execute for external partners. You can just touch on that perhaps. Thanks.
Absolutely. And that's a very good point, Etienne. Thank you for that. We actually offer an option for you to share tasks in a case with externals, meaning someone outside of your company that you are working with. It could be a supplier or something similar, even though they do not have a Gluu account and access to all your information. It's a very neat feature. We have some customers using it for claim handling. So instead of receiving information from the customer via email, they just send the customer a link that takes them to a form in a task in Gluu. They just see that form and they can fill it in. And that way they keep all the information together and they don't have to retype it, like the customer service agent doesn't have to move it. So that's very helpful. It's a very good feature as well. And Etienne, I know that you explored it a little bit as well, also some different use cases for it. Okay, so let's see if we can now get you guys back. You see my screen again now? Good. This is our onboarding process, and it looks a little bit messy because one of my colleagues demoed it yesterday, I think. But the interesting thing here that I want to show you is related to the case management. It's a very straightforward onboarding process, and what we have here, I just want to go to the case templates first, because one of you guys asked about decision gates in processes. How do you translate that to the case management feature? And it can actually, you do have an option in the current version of the feature before we incorporate it into the templates. The way it's handled in most instances is that you will have different templates to handle different variants of your process. So when we're talking about onboarding, well, the most onboardings that we do will probably be regular employees, but sometimes we also onboard a student employee, and sometimes we onboard externals. So we do different variations of the process, because we don't take them through all the same steps as we would a regular employee if it's an external or a student employee. So you can use the templates to handle those different scenarios. And if we take a look at one of the open cases, because I want to show you what it looks like if we have forms as well. Here you can see this little icon that means here a form was filled in. If we click a task that's already done, we can see all the information about it. And this form was just created in Gluu and filled in by the user. And what we also do on this case template is that we have an active integration to SharePoint, because with Gluu case management, you can set it up. We have a standard ready-made integration for SharePoint. So you just tell us where in your SharePoint structure you want us to place the files. And then we create a folder structure where the case name, in this instance, a number, Frank, contractor, is the top folder, and then every activity has its own subfolder. When you click the link, it will take you to the folder if you have access to it. We do not give access to folders unless a user already has access to it. That's, of course, something you decide. So we have the top folder here, and you see all the activities, they have individual folders. If we attach any files or images, they will also be put in the folders, and we update a dynamic report about progress on the case in the folder as well. But we will get back to reporting stuff later on. So, okay. I just wanted to show you what that looked like, because now we're getting to the fun part of the session, where you guys also get your hands dirty a little bit, or at least get to try your own hand at creating a case template. I will give you guys roughly 20 minutes to play around with it in the Gluu partner account. I hope you all found your way there. Alternatively, you can do it in your own Gluu accounts if you prefer that, if you'd rather have the information there. Then I will, of course, remain online for those 20 minutes if you guys have any questions that you want to ask. If you want to go, say, through all the steps that we did in the session so far, that's fine. You can start by creating your own process and then generating a template based on that. That's up to you guys. If you just want to use the process that I already showed you, the bicycle process we did together, and create your own template there, you can. And you're very welcome to just copy the template I did and then move things around, play around with it, add more tasks as well. That's completely up to you. Because I know some of you are quite experienced and some of you are new to all of this. So you can adjust it to fit your current level. Okay. Any questions about what it is you're supposed to do now? Doesn't seem to be the case. Then please go ahead, and then at 11:30 my time in 20 minutes, we'll pick the session back up here. But for now, you just give it a go and ask me any questions that pop up along the way.
Louise, can I ask you something?
Mm-hmm.
Did you already explain the part where we can reuse the same case? You know, when we execute one case and then we can reuse it? Because up until now, I thought that I'd have to create the same case like every time I use it, you know?
The template you just activate when you need it. So you just start a new case based on an existing template. So in our bicycle assemble process, every time we get a new order, we just activate the template we just created together. And then we name the case, the order number, and maybe, like I did, the color of the bike or whatever makes sense.
So the case template is already in place, and then we just
Yes.
activate the case every time we need it.
Exactly. Then you just say new case on the blue button and choose that template. Because then everything we set up in the template, you're just automatically given that for your case. So you don't have to build it every time you need a new case.
Okay. And the previous cases, I guess they're stored like there.
They are. They will be available on the process, and you will also be able to see all the form data there, but you can also look at form data under the forms page so that you get an overview of all cases at once that use the form. So everything will be there.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so about a minute or two till we start the session back up. Okay. So we are about ready to come back to the joint session. I can see in the Gluu Partners account that you guys created some processes and some cases, so that's good. And we're going to be talking a little bit about reporting options now in Gluu, and I will just share my screen again with you guys on the overview page in Gluu, because now we have something to look at there, because you guys generated data with the work you just did. And hopefully you see my screen now. We are looking at my users overview page. And the overview page is the basic place where reporting in Gluu starts. Because here we can see the tasks that are relevant to our user. We can see the cases that were started that we are involved in, where there's a task we can do. We can also see this in a calendar overview if we prefer. And because we are all assigned global admin rights to edit processes, we also get a list of draft processes that we can see here, because all the processes we created today are in draft mode. They have not been published yet. If we published some of them and gave them a version, then we would also see those on this list. And if some of the processes required our approval for a version to be released, those would also show here. The overview page can be edited. So you see here how it says preset in the top right corner, right below your names. And my personal is the overview that you're on by default. We offer a number of presets, but you can modify those if you're an account owner or have the rights to. And you can also, in your account settings, deselect the ones that you do not want to show users. But you can always edit your My Personal overview no matter who you are. We offer different standard widgets that you can use, check or uncheck. But if you create filters on a page in Gluu, those will also show up here, as well as any form, because you can create widgets based on form data as well. This is a fairly advanced feature, so we'll save it for a session at a later time related to that kind of stuff if there's interest for it. But it's just nice for you guys to know, because you all have this overview in your Gluu accounts and you can play around with it. Then if we take, for instance, this case, because here a lot of tasks were carried out. So let me just see if I can click it and take us there. You always have this option for a case. You can see a report of what was done in the case. And let me just download it so you can see what it looks like. Just need to close this Adobe pop-up. As you can see, it tells you when the case was started, when it was completed. It tells you the name, of course, who created the case, and then it shows you who carried out the different tasks. So here, 2 people work together to complete the tasks. You see when they completed the tasks. If there were forms, you would also see those in here, and the same goes for photos attached. If the case is not completed, let me just close this one again, if I can actually click it. If the case is not completed, then the PDF will show you an overview of that as well. And it looks something like this. So then it becomes more of a progress report. You see how many tasks were done, how many are active but not done, and how many will have to be done at a later point in time but are not active yet. You also have the option when you have a task to add a comment. And if you add comments to tasks, you can actually also add them to other people's tasks if there's something you feel like they need to know. Then you get them in the feed when you click that for the case, so you can actually see where comments were made without having to click your way through all the tasks. We also offer this calendar view. It kind of looks like a Gantt chart, but it's not really. The idea here is just to give you an overview of how much time we spent on different tasks. Because you do actually have an option when you, let me just see if I can find the task that, the one that we did together. You do actually have an option, if we go to the template, to set goals for each activity. So if I click an activity, I can set a target duration. So in this case, we would preferably complete the order check and the order confirmation within, let's say, 8 hours or 6 hours from receiving it. So you type that in here, either days or hours. And once we do, let's just set a target here. Then that will become part of the template. You see how it says 5 hours at the top here? And you can do that for any activity or all activities. And when we create a new case, we will also see it on the case. So that helps you measure. Sorry, apparently I can't talk and type at the same time. That helps you measure throughput time, because when you put a target duration goal, you can see the goal, and you can also always see the time spent. How we measure time spent is based on when the task becomes active. So when it goes from gray to orange, that's when we start the clock. And then we stop the clock once the task is completed and turns green. So that's a fairly simple way to measure throughput time without turning it into a big thing. All you have to do is add a little information here about target duration. Also, we do offer more advanced options here that can be added to your account should you want to. It's mainly used by our contracting and manufacturing customers because they often have very specific deadlines that they have to adhere to based on, for instance, if we start work on the 15th of this month, we need to order the products that we need for the project no later than the 1st of the month. Otherwise, they won't arrive on time. So you do get an option to add deadline dates like that for individual tasks, if need be. And so now I just want to go back to the presentation, because I've added a little bit about reporting the more advanced stuff. So hopefully you will see that now. And then I just have to go to the right slide. Here we go. Okay. So this is what we just looked at in the platform, and it gives you a good idea of what you can expect from the slideshow. You see how I linked a couple of reference articles here if you want to know more about this type of reporting. That's basically what you'll be receiving for all the features that we talked about today. So it's easy for you to find more information if you're interested. When we're talking about reporting in general, we're also in this day and age always very interested in integrations. We offer some standard integrations that you can use, for instance, the SharePoint one that I showed you, but also Power BI, Power Automate, Power Apps, because we're based in the Microsoft environment, so those are standard integrations for us. However, we also have an API option. The Gluu API is an open REST API, and you basically have access to all your Gluu data, which you can then integrate with any system, meaning there's an option for a two-way integration. You can send data to Gluu or data from Gluu to a different system. you find this, the access to the API in your account settings. There's a whole section for that. And we currently use Swagger, if some of you are familiar with that. You'll see the full list of endpoints there. But bear in mind that if there's something that you feel like is missing on the list, it's not a complete and closed list. If you want more endpoints, just let us know. We're happy to create them for you. We have the data, so we just have to expose the endpoint. We just didn't want to create a super long list of endpoints that no one used, so we've done it on a request basis instead. However, we also have a lot of customers that prefer just pulling data from Gluu, sending it to Power BI, combining it with other data, and then mirroring that back into Gluu instead of trying to do more complicated system integrations. So they combine different system data using Power BI, and then they just show that in Gluu. This is an example from one of our partners that have very much specialized in setting up Power BI reports for their Gluu customers. They are mainly with our manufacturing customers and contracting customers, but it could be used anywhere. And they use the Gluu case management that we just played around with quite a lot with their customers. So they take all that case data and then they add some financial data to it. And then they mirror that overview back into Gluu, because they're very mindful in these companies of having one point of access for their, in this case, project managers. They use the reports. They don't want to send them to 3 or 4 different systems to gather the information that they need. They just want to show them everything in Gluu, because that's where they complete their tasks. That's where they have their work instructions. That's where they see their processes. We did a webinar with this particular partner in November, I think, something like that. And I will make sure that that reference is also in the slideshow for you. And it gives you a very good, some very good insights into to this way of working with data in Gluu, and also some hands-on how to set it up tips and tricks from this very experienced partner, if you would like to see that. Any questions related to case management or reporting in Gluu based on what you played around with in the 20 minutes that I gave you, or anything I said now, then feel free to ask before we move on to other features. That does not seem to be the case. Yeah, there's one. Good. Please, Dale, go ahead.
This is just related to user permissions and the and running cases. So at the moment with the testing, we all have the same roles and permissions. So when you run a case with multiple roles, so each user has a different role, how can you set the user permission so that when you're running a case, something doesn't happen where someone with a different role completes somebody else's task by mistake? So for example, using the bicycle, what can we do to prevent the painter from accidentally completing the mechanic's task and vice versa?
Very good question. Thank you for that. In Gluu, the way that it works is that we assign tasks to users based on the roles that they have. So what that means is that if you have the mechanic role, but not the painter role, you will not be able to complete the tasks for the painter role. You can only complete your own tasks. And we send out notifications for those tasks, but only the ones that are related to your role specifically. Does that answer the question, Dale?
If you don't mind, could you just show in the user permissions how we could set the different permissions
Sure.
for each role, please?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let me just share the Gluu account again. So what we want to do is that we want to look at roles, because let me just show you guys the roles overview. The roles that we see here, these are the roles that can be used in swim lanes in processes. We also have a second tab for permission group roles, but these are, think of them like global admin rights to the account. The only thing the users, regular users, need would be these roles. As you can see, I assigned all you guys to the customer service agent role, to the mechanic role, and the painter role. And that is why you can see and complete all those tasks. However, if I edit who has which roles, if I, Dale, in your case, if I removed you from the painter role, you would no longer be able to do the painter role tasks. So what that means, let me just save these changes. On a side note, currently you have admin rights that overrides what we just did with roles. But for the sake of the example, removing you from the painter role, if we go to the process where it is being used and where we did our initial case, for the painter, you can see we have two activities: prepare parts for painting and paint bicycle parts. If we scroll down, we see all our active tasks that can be done here. I see all of them because I'm allowed to complete all of them. But if we go to prepare parts for painting, well, currently they don't have any active tasks, so they might be bad examples. But if we turn on edit mode, we will see the tasks related to prepare parts for painting. So this task would no longer be available to you when I removed the painter role from your user, if you were just a regular user with no admin rights. You could still see the case because you are a part of the case because of your other roles, but you would not be able to complete those tasks that are in the painter swim lane. Does that make sense? Good. Any other questions, let me know. Because otherwise we'll move on to advanced features. Like I said, the advanced features section for today is, it's a quick overview of what is there available to you. And just like with the case management feature, we would be happy to do more dedicated sessions on some of those advanced features. But my goal for this session is just to make sure you guys know what is available to you. So I will share our demo account again. And the first thing we will look at will be related to versioning and working with improvement suggestions. Because we know, and I also know from experience in my old job, that working with improvement suggestions can be rather difficult to facilitate in a company. The easy part is to get the, do the big meeting saying, oh, we're going to be working with continuous improvement. It's going to be great. We really want all your good suggestions. Please put them in the suggestions box. Put the suggestion box in a location where people can add stuff to it. And that's where it gets tricky, because what happens in most companies, what also happened in my old company, was that people put suggestions in the suggestion box, but actually working with the suggestions, interacting with the people that wrote them because they forgot to put their name on there, making sure everybody that made suggestions had an overview of the status of their suggestion was just very difficult. So we've tried to incorporate that into Gluu. And the way that it works is that in Gluu you can make comments to any work instruction, really. And you see the comments as you scroll down the page. You can click them, see more comments. And when you click a work instruction, you will also see comments, and you can leave your own comment. If you want a full overview of all comments made on any activity in the process, you can always go to the process feed using the sidebar navigation. And here you see all the comments. All users that are process members can make comments on a process, on any work instruction. And once they make a comment, they can be turned into improvement suggestions. So for instance, if we left a comment here saying, maybe we should change A, B, and C. This would be a comment for the entire process, not just one instruction, because we're in the feed. But when I leave a comment here, I have an option to turn it into a change suggestion. And if we do that, it gets a number, and we get different statuses here also to choose from. And it's just a very nice alternative, because when people are looking at their processes or work instructions, they can just leave the comment right then and there when they spot something, instead of sending their team leader an email, giving them a phone call, leaving a yellow post-it on their desk because they weren't in their office, that kind of thing. And then when you're ready to do a process improvement session for this particular process, you will have all the suggestions there. And then you can take a look at them, you can go through them. Some you'll dismiss, some you'll actually implement. And the ones that you decide to implement, you can even include in process versions. So if we just go back to the process front page, we also have all our versioning information here. We have the published version, which is what regular users see. But we also have, because we have editing rights, the option to see newer versions and the most recent one, which is pending approval. We've tried to make versioning and working with improvement suggestions as easy as possible, even though it is one of the trickiest things when working with processes. There's a bunch more to be said about versioning, but I promise you I included links in the slideshow as well to YouTube videos and Help Center articles on this as well. So unless you have any questions, I will move on to just briefly talking about process responsibilities, ownership, editors, and the RACI model or matrix, if you will, that we've included in Gluu. All processes in Gluu will have a RACI matrix. We generate them automatically based on the information that you give us. Who's the process owner? Who are the process editors? Which activities do we have in our process? But we also give you an option to add information. As you can see, you can edit these columns. For instance, adding people that should be informed about the process, even though they are not process members. We are currently working on a big notifications release because going forward, we will be building all our whole notification structure on the RACI matrices. And then, of course, you can also change your process owners and editors in your process settings. So when you're in edit mode and you click process settings, you can change it here. There's also a couple of other things, as you can see. For instance, versioning publish mode for this process, as well as the visibility of the process and some of the basic process information. It's a really good idea to have process editors on your processes because in many cases, the process owner is not necessarily the person who will be doing the actual changes or process improvements. And if you want to, you can even add process activity editors. They cannot edit the process flow, but they can fill in a work instruction. And that's a very good way of decentralizing the way that you work with processes and gain more ownership from the people that are actually working in the process. Very good. Then we already talked about BPMN 2.0. I just wanted to briefly show you how to switch it on. Very simple, just a toggler here at the top. If you don't want it available for people mapping processes, you can switch it off completely in your account settings as well. Right. Then I want to show you one more thing that is also an advanced feature, but probably our most beloved feature by users when it comes to work instructions. We give you an option to create what we call components. Components are like building blocks, Legos, a repository you can create and then use and reuse in as many activities as you want. components are great because they help you with lowering the amount of manual maintenance that you have to do. For instance, a good example could be in your processes, in your work instructions, you might mention IT systems for users to use for certain tasks. Instead of typing the names out every time you use them, you create a component with the name of the IT system and you insert the component in your work instructions. Because what that gives you is both data consistency. The system is always called by the same name, no matter in which work instruction it's used, but it also gives you a really nice overview. So let me just go to the components page of this demo account. Components, I will show you a simple one. This one is just a text component. Looks like this. They can also be links, but components are really great because they can actually carry a lot of information. So some of these HTML components, oh, these are boring ones. Here's a little more. You see how this is the entire component, and the HTML components can carry photos, links, files, text, anything that you have in your work instruction. So there's a bunch of different options for using components. And what's also great about them, let's choose one that I know is a good example, if I can spot it. Maybe. This one. It shows you every single place that the component is used. So in all these activities, this Dynamics 365 component has been used. If I click one of them, you see the component here. That takes me to one of the also fairly advanced features, the Gluu Explorer. The Gluu Explorer is a way to get an overview of how everything interconnects. As you can see, I prepared a little bit for this session. So in the center of this nice little spiderweb matrix, we have the component that we just talked about. If we zoom in a little bit, we get all the names of everything. And we see where it's used and how it's interconnected to other things. This is clearly a very advanced feature. Regular users do not spend much time looking at this, but for more advanced users, it can be very helpful. For instance, if you want to, now we see everything. If we want to know about process owners, do we have anybody with way too much process ownership? Well, in our organization, these two guys, Hans and this lady down here, Kate, we might need to look at removing some of their processes, giving them to someone else in the company because they are obviously very busy. More than one person can do in a year, yeah. So there are different options with using the Explorer in that sense. Another way of showing what or grouping certain things, showing how things are interconnected, is by using Gluu labels. You can create a bunch of labels in Gluu. I just need to find them on my list. Here they are. And you can use them on processes, activities, and comments. And if we go back to our process overview page, you have filtering options pretty much anywhere in Gluu. And you can also filter on labels. So say I work for a company that's ISO 9001 certified. Well, then I might like to have an ISO label that I use on processes and activities, because it's a very easy way to find processes that are connected to ISO. As you can see, the little label shows up here on the process, and we also have one activity with the label in this process. So labels can be used for a bunch of different things. When we are talking about more meta-level data, there is also something in Gluu called custom fields. Custom fields, if we just go back to our onboarding process, custom fields are like a top level layer of data that you can apply to processes and activities, but that you do not necessarily want to show your users in their work instructions, because it's just clutter to them. It's not relevant. Here we have two examples: IT systems and risk. These are custom fields, meaning that they've been set up by the account owner. And if we wanted to add something to the risk, well, this one is only a green level risk because onboarding is not very risk related. Well, then I can add that here. And once again, I can filter based on these custom fields. And there are a number of different custom fields available, different types of fields, drop-down lists. You can use components. You can just have open text fields, a bunch of different options. So those are the different ways to work with interconnecting things in Gluu database. There was something else on the list in my mind that I needed to show you. Ah, yes, of course, profiles and contextual models, or what we in Gluu call drawings. What we've looked at today is mainly focused on people working with processes, editors, and owners, but we also have a lot of regular users, and we don't want to flood them with information. So we want to give them a simple view of Gluu, as clean as we can, making it easy for them to navigate. And when you have a full account like we do here, then when I remove the filter, this is not a very easy page for regular users to navigate. We have 234 processes in 10 categories. That's a lot. So to make that easier for users, we offer this option of using drawings or contextual models, and you can link them to any object in Gluu. So in this case, this is just a very simple value chain approach drawing. And if the user looks at this drawing saying, oh, okay, well, I need to know something about HR, so I'll go here. Then we show them just one category. That's all they see. You can also link it to a group, so they only see one group, like this 2.1, develop and manage HR planning, policies and strategies. But you can also link from one drawing to another. So there are very many ways of going about making things simpler for users. Drawings connect very well with profiles. when we go to our account settings, we have something called profiles. And profiles does not decide anything about access to processes or options to edit processes. But profiles let you customize the layout of Gluu for a specific user. So for instance, if we choose this frontline worker, you see how all the things we have in our sidebar navigation, you can select or deselect here to show to the users, and you have a couple of other options. Let me just show you how simple Gluu can be for a user like that. Just because we gave him that profile. So this user only sees this drawing. It's a technician. The person doesn't see anything in the sidebar navigation. And actually, when they click here, they just go straight to a work instruction in a full screen view. And all they can do is navigate back to the drawing. So this is the very, very simple view of Gluu. And this can be useful, for instance, for a technician, because he doesn't necessarily need to see the process flow. He just needs to get straight to his work instructions so he can perform his tasks. That's how he's working in the process. We don't want to complicate things by asking him to navigate through the process as well. For instance, we have a retailer customer that has done that for all their store employees. They just have like a tablet-like touch screen where they tab the area that they want to know more about. So front page, they tab return, for instance, if they have a customer asking to return goods. And then they get another drawing where they can say, well, return without receipt. How do I handle that situation? And they get their work instruction. That's it. So this is by far the simplest view that you can get in Gluu, but you can do anything in between with by combining drawings with profiles. Then, like you already saw a little bit, at least, we also have permission groups, and that's the very advanced permission management, because here we're talking about giving users access to creating categories and groups in our process hierarchy. We're giving them the rights to edit all processes in our accounts. Those are these permission groups, the standard permission groups that we offer. Most of your users will not need any of these. Most of your users will be fine just having roles in processes, because that's how we handle the basic layer of access. Permission groups are for advanced users, like process consultants, for instance. And you assign those rights here or on the user page. But you can also create your own permission groups if you want to. Meaning it's possible to set up a permission group deciding that in the group processes category, I would like to grant the option to create processes, but only there for these two users, because I don't want them to create processes anywhere in my account, which they would be able to if I gave them create only process, that admin right. So you have options here also to restrict access to certain areas of your Gluu account. But again, quite advanced. most customers are happy with just a regular setup. It's just for you to know that it is an option. Okay. That actually takes us through the advanced features that I wanted to mention in our session today, leaving us with the last 10 minutes to talk about the partner certification that I promised I would take you through. I know some of you are already certified partners, and if you want to drop out of the session now, that's completely fine. But for those of you who want to learn a little bit about how to become a Gluu certified partner, then stick around. So for anyone leaving, thank you very much for participating. I will send out a follow-up email with the slides. And also, please give any feedback you have for this session in general, but also regarding other sessions that you would be interested in, other areas you would like us to explore with you in this type of format. We would very much like to know that.
Thank you, Louise.
My pleasure. Okay, so for those of you who want to know a little bit about the certification options, let's just spend 5 minutes on that. I will just share my slides with you again. There we go. Okay, so we offer different levels of Gluu partnerships, so to say. And as an individual consultant, as a person, you can be a Gluu partner, and then you can also have your company be a Gluu partner. For companies, we have 2 levels. We have affiliated partners and we have certified Gluu partners. Certified Gluu partners have implemented Gluu with customers. They have experience with that, and there are also some other requirements. I will make sure to share the requirements with you after this session, of course, but I won't go into detail about it here. That won't be fun for anyone. For individual consultants, we also have 2 different levels. We have what we call a process facilitator, and we have the qualified process facilitator. A qualified process facilitator is the top level, meaning, again, like with the certified partnership for companies, you have experience implementing Gluu with customers. Getting to the process facilitator level, however, only requires you to have completed a Gluu training session like this one with all the Gluu fundamentals. Then we ask after a session like this with partners that you map a process of your own in the Gluu partner account or in your own Gluu account if you have one, and book me or one of my colleagues for a 30-minute meeting where we just go through the process. Then all you have to do is put a Gluu certification on your LinkedIn profile, and then in return, we will add you on our website as a Gluu partner. with your basic information, a link to your LinkedIn profile so customers of ours can contact you. And we will also add you to our Teams partner channel, where we inform you about different things like when we do new releases, product releases, you'll get an update. And when we have anything interesting coming out, webinars that might be interesting to you, we also put that in the channel. And then we offer you different material as well, both for implementation and sales purposes that you are welcome to download and use as you see fit. So in other words, for any of you guys that are not already certified partners, please reach out and send me an email, and I would be happy to take you through it in some more detail if you'd like to, or if you're happy with what I just told you now and you just want to get your certification as a process facilitator, you just map out a process in the Gluu partner account or on your own account, and schedule a meeting with me. When I send you the email with the slides and all of that, there will also be a link where you can book a meeting in my calendar. So you are very welcome to do so. Good. Any questions related to the certification?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the requirement for the process we have to make in the partner account to be approved? How complicated was? How many levels and so on?
Yeah, good question, Henrik. There is no specific requirement in the sense that when we work with partners, we find that you guys, you already have knowledge of processes. So our goal here is just to get you to map a process in the tool and then make sure that you know of all the tips and tricks, and to give you some feedback on the process that you mapped based on our process mindset and experience with working on processes, because that's also a good way for both you and us to align if we're on the same page when it comes to working with processes before we continue with the partnership.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Any other questions? Because other than that, then Dale, do you have a question?
Last question about the certification. Once you receive this certification, is there a time limit that it's valid for, or is it forever?
There is a time limit for the top levels in particular, both for individual consultants and certified companies. When you guys put the certification on your LinkedIn profile as individual consultants, we put a 2-year time limit on that. Because if you haven't done any implementations for 2 years, then the Gluu product has developed too much for you to still be knowledgeable to the degree that we would want of the new features. But of course, if you stay in touch with us and you keep your knowledge up to date on Gluu, then that's another case, and you can of course extend your certification.
And then in that, sorry.
No, I just wanted to say that how we're gonna be moving forward with that is by probably doing 1 or 2 sessions a year where we give you a brush up on the new features that we've introduced.
Okay, so it's not like you have to do the whole thing again where you map out the process and then.
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Well, then with the last minute that we have left on the clock for this session, I just want to say thank you ever so much for your participation in this session. I hope you found it useful. And I would be very happy to get your feedback when I send out the email. If there was anything in the session that you would like to also know about, or anything that I could have done differently that would have worked better for you guys. Yeah, that's it for me. You guys have a great weekend, and I will hopefully talk to you all soon.
You will. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.